Hello, sir. I am Saket. I am doing masters in CS now. So basically, my question was that we generally exaggerate and romanticize many things. Like love in Bollywood, it is shown as something which is beyond human understanding, etc., etc. But in real life, if you see, hormones also play a great role in that, and probability also plays a great role in that. So when you see things in a very rational way, things seem very dry and very random. Things don't seem to have a point. So, how to deal with this? How can I deal with this without believing something which is like deceiving? And yeah,
The problem is that belief and dreams and delusions are juicy, but reality is dry. Is reality dry actually?
I think so. I mean, everything seems so random.
How does randomness translate into dryness?
Well, I mean, uh, the thing is, if you believe in, let's say, God or something, so you feel that, right, I have some purpose, I am in this world because of some reason. So if you just question that, uh, there's a chance that you are in this world because of some accident. Maybe there's no point of creation. That's a possibility. After knowing it, I mean, how to come in terms with that? Doesn't it
You
make
don't
it
have to
like,
come to terms with anything.
I mean, we have
That
to
is the
accept.
fact. That is the fact. Yes, all of us are here randomly. That's true. I mean, there is no need to come to terms with it. It's not a traumatic event. It is the fundamental reality. Hmm? But how does that make things dry? I'm interested in that.
Well, the thing is, we always think that there is some purpose, some greater purpose, X, Y, Z.
Yeah, the
And
purpose is to rid yourself of delusions. In fact, tell me, if God made you, how does that supply you with a purpose?
well, we know that, okay, somebody made us, so even if after we die, we'll go to him. So there's some certainty there.
You can imagine four or five other more juicier stories. How will that give you a purpose? Life will keep telling you that all your stories are nonsensical. Life has a way of bringing you back to reality. No, I can keep imagining. You know, ahead of me is a flower bed. Ahead of me is a flower bed. Ahead of me, and then pop. The bleeding nose will tell me that I was just being stupid. Hmm? So there is no point living in fantasies. Facts have to be seen and respected. But again, that dry thing, I want to just understand. You see, something happens. Something happens. How is that happening really dry? What is this dryness? How do we define this dryness?
Well, like if you believe in the Bollywood version or very romantic form of like love, it just feels, I mean, it sort of feels very amazing. So when you say that, no, this is,
No, it doesn't feel amazing. It feels amazing only when you are unconscious. When you are conscious, it feels nauseating. Feels nauseating. How do you feel today looking at the 80s and 90s mainstream Hindi flicks? I'm talking of the romantic ones. How do you feel today? Huh? Cringe. Because as a generation, you are actually much more conscious today. You look at them and you say, what shit is this? Especially when the girls would look at those flicks, they would be angered by the portrayal of women. What? But if you have someone who is still in the 80s, 90s mindset, he might still go gooey looking at those, great romance. Great romance. It's not that those stories, those pictures, those movies, ideas, or imaginations, they are inherently juicy. They are made juicy by your unconscious mind. The more unconscious you are, the more these things will attract you. And the more liberated you are, the more open you are, the more you will say, no, there's nothing in it. Keep it away. Today you use scenes, parts from those movies as comic material, as memes, don't you? Don't you? In their times, those things were being taken very seriously. Oh, this is real romance. What kind of romance? It's not that certain things are inherently appealing to the mind. It's just that depending on the level of the mind, it is one thing that appeals versus the other thing that appeals. When you are drunk, one thing will appeal to you. You might feel like throwing the same thing away once you are sober. So don't be so drunk. Reality is very juicy. Don't worry. There is nothing more fascinating than the truth. Go ask that to those who have dedicated their lives to the service of truth. Exploration, discoveries. How dare we say that they had had dry lives? Go to an Einstein and hear him playing the piano. Is he a dry man? Or closer home, go to a Bhabha. See him painting something. See him at music. Is that really dry? It's a very, very dangerous notion if you say, all the fun, all the pinkiness, all the tenderness lies in stupid kind of notions. And everything that is conscious, elevated, sublime is dry. It's very dangerous, and you are becoming a victim of the propaganda of the juice sellers. Ever seen how they portray teachers, especially in Indian movies? Seen how they portray them as caricatures, buffoons, people you can laugh at. Can you think of a few such characters? Because teachers are associated with knowledge. And if you have knowledge, then you will lampoon that movie. Please understand the conspiracy. Teachers are associated with knowledge. But that movie can gather 500 crores only when you do not have knowledge. So knowledge is dangerous to the commercial success of that movie. If people become knowledgeable, that movie will flop. So it's some kind of filmmaker's revenge on knowledge that he will show the scientist or the teacher in a very unfair way. The scientist, for example, will be shown with all his hair erect. He has been thinking so much that he has gone either bald or his hair stand erect on his head. And the teacher is always eccentric, forgetful, idiotic actually, doing something this way, that way. And the students are smart studs because they don't have knowledge. So if you don't have knowledge, you are a stud. If you have knowledge, you are a fool. That kind of depiction, that kind of propaganda, you have become a victim of. So you are thinking that the life of facts, of knowing, of discovery is a dry life. No, it is not dry life. Come on. And if that is dry life, then what we are saying is that all the juice belongs to the lives of animals. Animals are all the time doing what they show in the movies, no? In the movies, it appears so juicy to you if someone takes off a few of her clothes. Animals never wear any clothes. Constant juice. Unending. In movies, you find it juicy if someone doesn't have to study. Animals never have to study. It's a juicy life. So basically you are asking for an animalistic life in the name of juice. You are saying there should be no intelligence, only emotions, and that is juice. Animals have no intelligence, they have only emotions. So the pigs and the crows have the juiciest lives because they have no intelligence at all, only emotions. What do animals operate on? They don't operate on IQ, they operate only on their instincts. You want that kind of life? But I'm terrified by the power of propaganda. See what they have put in our minds. And if this remains in our minds, it will be very difficult to develop academically, intellectually, scientifically, artistically, spiritually. Facts are fun, but we have been told stupidity is fun. No, intelligence is great fun. Intelligence is great fun. But when you want to have fun, you deliberately act stupid, don't you? And the fellow who cannot act stupid will be taken as fun hater. Why? Because he cannot act stupid. So even those who are actually not having any fun, if they want to have social acceptance, they act like clowns so that they can demonstrate that they too are having fun. Have you seen how it happens in your parties? 80% of the crowd isn't drunk at all. Still they are behaving as if they are drunk. Because if they show that they are neither drunk nor do they enjoy being drunk, they will be ostracized. You will say, oh my God, he's a dry fellow. He's a dry fellow. I start narrating stupid jokes to you. Would that be juicy? Huh? In response to your question, I gave you some kind of an idiotic reply and said, ha, ha, ha. You'd find that juicy? What is this terrible definition of juice? Let me take you back to the classics, the Upanishads. They say, raso vaisah. When they refer to the truth, they say, the truth is juice itself. All the juice lies in the truth. Juice does not lie in stupidity or in falseness or in delusions. Juice lies in truth. I'm all for fun. Avoid cheap fun. Pay the maximum price and then you will know what fun or pleasure are. Exert yourself to the maximum. If you can run for 5 kilometers, run for 8 kilometers. And then when you will sit down, you will say, good fun. Now that's fun. You could run only for 5 kilometers, you ran for 8. And then you say, yes, good fun. Drenched in sweat, possibly even in a bit of blood, you say, good fun. Now that's fun. Fun that you have paid the price for. Getting it? Every cell of your body is saying, come on, let's go to sleep. Come on, let's go to sleep. You don't want to go to sleep. You have something to do. Something, anything. You want to complete a book. You have an assignment. You have an exam. Or you just want to be awake. No reason at all. And then after long hours, you find the twilight breaking. And suddenly some birds are chirping. And then with your body breaking down, you say, good fun. Now, that's fun. Fun that you have paid for. Fun that is legitimate. Fun that you're not stealing. Fun that you own. Doesn't sound juicy? I speak on behalf of all those who have been the jewels of humanity and yet have been terribly wronged by us. We might respect them, but we never love them. Our love is something that belongs to all the idiots, necessarily. I love the scientist. I respect the scientist. I respect the scientist, but love the dog. What is this dichotomy between respect and love? Why can't you love the one you respect? And if you can't love the one you respect, what does that tell you about your love and your respect?
I'll share one anecdote. Maybe my choice of wording was wrong. So my Jija unfortunately passed away. So my mama and mommy, they both were of course very sad. My mommy believes in God. My mama doesn't. So the time which my mommy took to recover from that was way faster. She felt randomly that maybe God has took him from me because he would be in a better place. My mama doesn't believe. So in this aspect, what I have seen is that she believed a story, she believed a romantic version of God, and she came out of it quite quicker than my mama. So my main point was that.
All right. This is the floor. Literally the bottom. Actually the rock bottom. There are some rock pieces here. Right? If the gentleman here falls, how long will he take to recover? And compared to him, if I fall, I'll take longer to recover, right?
Right.
But to ensure this quick recovery, he will always have to sit right at the bottom. If you are anyway always living in a state of consciousness that's full of suffering, then more suffering doesn't hurt you that much. Think it. Even suffering is some kind of displacement. You have to be, first of all, joyful in the initial sense to suffer later on. If I am never joyful, how can I suffer? If I am never joyful, how can I suffer? If I am sitting so low, it will take me no time to recover. Are you getting it? But that's too big a price to pay. It's a very, very known thing. Please understand. If you want to avoid suffering, stay in imaginations. That is why exploration of truth is such a difficult thing. If this be the axis of consciousness, you know where the minimum suffering is? Let's say there is this vertical y-axis of consciousness. How much I understand, how much I really see, how much am I in touch with the truth? That's consciousness. Where on this axis is the minimum suffering? Right at the bottom. Therefore, people, in order to avoid suffering, stay right at the bottom of consciousness. But I'm saying that's too big a price to pay. That's why people avoid facts. That's why when you start talking reality to people, they quickly say, let's change the topic. Have you seen that? You start talking real to people and they get afraid. They say, please change the topic. Because they exist at the bottommost level of consciousness. and there is very little suffering there. When you are exactly at the zero level, there is no consciousness. You are inanimate. You are material. Do you suffer then? Do you suffer? When you fall, do your shoes suffer? No, because they are inanimate. They have zero consciousness. If you have zero consciousness, you will not suffer. And some people are so afraid of suffering that they reduce their consciousness to zero. But if you reduce your consciousness to zero, you have also reduced your life to zero, because life is consciousness. Are you seeing this? So I can live in all kinds of fantasies, and the more you live in fantasies and stories and imaginations, the lower your consciousness is. So your suffering might actually be lower, but that would also mean that you are not alive at all. To students like you, it was like 12 years back, I once delivered a lecture, and it was titled "Awakening Begins with Suffering." Might be there on YouTube. Awakening begins with suffering. And therefore, most people do not want to awaken. Because if you awaken, you will suffer more. Lying at the bottom here, there is very little suffering. The more you awaken, the more you rise, the more you suffer. Greatness lies in willingly embracing this suffering. It is for cowards and idiots to say, I don't want to suffer, therefore I don't want to be conscious. I willingly want to embrace suffering.
Good evening, sir. Uh, Sir, my question is a follow up to this question. You said that as consciousness rises, more and more suffering also rises. So, would not there be a limit to this? Like when you would be at the highest conscious.
The curve has an inflection point. It's not as if suffering would keep rising infinitely. Rises and then falls, peaks and then subsides.
And what is that highest consciousness when there is an inflection point and beyond which it begins to fall down? And at what point does it fall down to completely
The point
zero?
of inflection,
The point of inflection also, and also at what point it completely falls down to zero, but the consciousness is
that
not
you
zero.
don't have to think of, the final point. But the point of inflection is when you stop resisting the suffering. It's in your hands. It's not an objective coordinate. It is a choice that you make. When you start feeling comfortable with your suffering starts to drop. That's the point of inflection. The more you keep thinking, oh, I don't like this. Why do I have to pay such a high price for living honestly? No, no, no. When will this end? It is just an examination. When will the vacations begin? Fall in love with the examinations. The examinations will no more be a big deal. You have to allow yourself to embrace anything for the sake of honesty. And then it's your resistance that becomes your suffering. No? When you are no more resisting it, it's no more suffering. Acknowledge it, accept it, surrender to it as early as possible, and you get the inflection. Also, if the point of inflection doesn't come, then the suffering will keep rising, which means you will crack. You are not built to take infinite suffering. At some point, you will simply crumble. Therefore, the point when you say, this is my life, I have chosen it, I'm all right with it, that point should come as early as possible. See, it's like this: one gets fat, one decides to start running in the morning, and that's painful. The body is not designed for that, or the body has not has come to a point where it cannot take that. The more you keep telling yourself, oh, this is paining, this is aching, my knees, what do I do with it, everything, I don't want to get up, and entire day I feel sleepy. The more you keep telling yourself these things, the more difficult it will be the next morning for you. Simply tell yourself, this is life. This is life and I have chosen it. Now there is no looking back. There is no other world, there is no other life. This is my life. I have consciously chosen it and I'm not going back. Once you acknowledge it fully, the suffering drops. Complete admission. जब सेलेक्ट कर ही लिया है तो अब रोना क्या है? Is there a point? Will those tears help you now? So simply get on with it. The game is on. What we are saying actually is all suffering is more or less about cribbing. Stop cribbing, the suffering drops. The more you crib, the more the suffering continues. Just stop cribbing. Make the right choice and then be settled with it. Keep paying the price. The choice has been made. The price will have to be paid. I can't crib now. Cribbing is dishonesty.